What's up, everybody? It's Azon again. Quick favor, I'll make it snappy. If you're on an Apple iOS device and you use the podcast app to listen to this show, thank you first off. But go ahead and search on the podcast app for Wake Up Warchant. You'll see two results. Please make sure you are subscribed and downloading to the feed on the right. It all looks completely identical, but the one on the right actually has more ratings and reviews. So if you could migrate over to that one, that would be really super appreciated. And if you're on any kind of mobile device and you download this podcast off any sort of provider, if you could search for Wake Up Warchant, you might see multiple results. If you could make sure you're downloaded and subscribing to the one that has the more ratings and reviews, that'll just kind of, put all of our numbers in one big pot as opposed to splitting it up the way it's been here for like the last year and a half. Should only take you 3 or 4 seconds. I know I just took like 40 seconds, so I apologize. But if you could do that, we'd really appreciate it. Let's get to the show.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more Corner Pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi
and Corey Clark.
Just Blaze, Killer, or the girl Cedar.
Wake up! Your favorite football team's 4-0. This is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Coming up on today's show, the Noles dominate an ACC Power 5 opponent. How? Jordan Travis, awesome. And all these dudes stepping up all across the field, as well as the Zaxby's indescribably good player of the week, and a little bit of a whip around in the entire college football universe. We are brought to you by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida, cptallybar.com. Check it out, the website. Head over there Friday. There'll be another happy hour with Jeff and Corey, 5:30 to 6:30. I was out there. there this past Friday, everybody, so don't say that I don't ever leave my house. I'm a hermit. I showed up. I hung out. I saw Corey and Steph and Shane and Eric Angel, Shane and Michelle. Saw another mailman that's apparently friends with Tom, who gave mailman shorts to Jeff Cameron. Just craziness, just all-around craziness at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, but the good kind, good for the soul, right, Corey Clark?
It is. That's the place to be on Friday nights. Everybody knows that. It's really the place to be every night, but Friday nights in particular because we're there. Well, I say we, Jeff and I, and Aslan occasionally.
Well, it's your guys' show, I'm not gonna, I don't want to steal the thunder. When I walk into the room, the momentum shifts. Don't want to take away from you guys, Trying to be a team player here. Trying to be a team player. It is a home game, so hopefully there'll be a home game. We're not going to get too much into the weather. We are below junior meteorologists, but there will be another happy hour this Friday, 5:30 to 6:30, and then another Warchant game day presented by Zaxby's over at the Hotel Indigo 3 hours before kick. So my math is terrible. So it's noon 30. 12:30 then.
Well done, Aslan. Well done.
It's like do you count the zeros and the ones and I don't know. I'm just it's never arithmetic. None of it was my strengths. But anyhow, all that going on with a home game this weekend. Hopefully, barring any sort of catastrophe with tropical storm as we record this, Ian barreling towards the great state of Florida. Anyhow, Corey Clark, 4-0 Florida State. They were I think when it went off, I don't know, maybe 18-point favorite over Boston College. The over-under was 48.5. We're like, man, will Jordan play? Won't he play? Pete Thamel blows the top off of that. Thanks, Pete. We kind of thought he was probably going to play after the way we saw him practice on Wednesday. But let's just get to the bottom of this, man. They win 44-14 over Boston College. First play of the game, first touch, Trey Benson, 93-yard kickoff touchdown return. And from there, they just romped over BC. The game never in doubt, never in question. This team, not only, this whole lose big, lose small, win big. I didn't realize that timeline could happen all here like in a whole year practically. But the fact that they just dominated. I mean, they dominated. Pretty good defense, not a great offense, but a conference opponent that they see all the time that knows who they are and what they're about. They went out there and absolutely dominated them. How surprising is that to you, Corey, and how we got to this point?
Yeah, it was very surprising. Not that Florida State won, but the way that just the way the game went. I thought coming off an emotional win, playing a kind of a desperate team, playing a team that has some players. I mean, I know their offensive line isn't very good, but they've got some veterans on offense that have done some things in this conference, and the defense isn't a joke. I thought it would be a game in the second half. I thought it would be a game in the fourth quarter, honestly. I just did. It felt like one of those games where you might have to slog through it. And, yeah, even if you won 27-13, it was still – the game could have gone either way in the fourth quarter. That's how I envisioned it. And, no, man, it was over midway through the second quarter, which I can't even – it's just hard for me to fathom because Florida State was without its two best defensive players. And they still, found a way to really kind of dominate that game on that side of the ball. And then Jordan Travis is Jordan Travis on the other side of the ball. I mean, that guy, you run out of superlatives to talk about that kid. He's just playing at an elite level right now. And I didn't think that was possible. I thought the win was probable. Obviously, that's why they were a 17.5 or 18-point favorite. But man, what a good sign that must be for the fans of this program. To win a team, that to me it's as big a program win, Aslan, is the one in Louisville, where you lose all those guys and you still have dudes step up, next man up mentality and all that. We hear it a million times, and go win a game on the road, show that what for and that gut and those cojones late to go win that game. I thought that was a program win, and what you've instilled, this one might have even trumped that one, because man, you had every excuse in the book to kind of go through the motions a little bit. You're not used to winning. You're not used to being 3-0. You got one of the worst teams in the league coming in. You're banged up. They went out hungry like they were 0-4. They played hungrier, which again I think that's when you're talking about building a culture and doing it the same way every time. For them to play with that kind of mindset, like like their record was 0-0. They hadn't proven anything yet. That's a good step, man. That's a good step. I know they're better than Boston College, but the talent level isn't that wide that you would expect what those stats were in the first half. What was it, like 320 yards to 70? That's crazy, man. That's a team buying into what they're doing, even with some guys missing, and that's a coaching staff that has instilled something that man, right now certainly seems pretty special.
I mean, I'm impatient. We've gone over that plenty in the years that we've done this show. It's incredible to me that this all has come together this nicely, this fast. And I don't know if it starts at the quarterback position. It certainly helps. But, I mean, to your point, they've instilled something in these guys that they play with such intensity and such focus. And, listen, it's not like we see them practice and then they go out on Saturday and we're like, where did that come from? But I don't know. I don't know how to talk about practice and then what we see at the games to where, I don't know, man, they practice hard, but like still though, there's a certain degree of like, I cannot believe they're executing at such a high level on offense. Now defensively with the losses of Jared Verse and Fabian Lovett, it's still incredible that they're able to stand pretty tall against, Louisville in that fourth quarter, and also what they did at Boston College, even though they were banged up. But like watching this team practice, like at no point am I like, they're threatening to be 10 wins, maybe win the Atlantic, maybe win the conference, and I don't know, be some sort of crazy dark horse playoff football team. And I don't know what happens to them under the lights on Saturday, or maybe what you see at practice, Corey, is that what the fans are seeing every Saturday night, Friday night, Sunday night?
Again, man, I just think that's so hard for us to contextualize, right? Because we don't watch other teams practice.
Yeah.
I don't know what Alabama's practice looks like. I know they have better players at their practice than Florida State does, but I don't know if they practice harder. I don't know if Georgia practices harder, Ohio State, or, name a team, Tennessee. I don't know that any of those teams practice harder. I think some of them have more talent. But, yeah, man, they practice really hard. I mean, that's one thing they've done since he got here. They aren't lax. Watch that offensive line, man. They do not take any time off. And when they're done, I think we've talked about this before, but I can't remember. When they're done in the last period of the practice that we get to watch, which is like usually period 23, they blow the whistle. Mike Norvell blows it like 4 times, so that's the last period. And then the offensive linemen sprint.
Yes.
All the rest of the position groups kind of jog to they go through some individual drills at the end of practice. All the other position groups, they don't walk. There's no walking on those practice fields, but they jog, in a normal, well-paced jog. The offensive linemen sprint as if, I don't know, man, they're running towards a buffet. It's crazy how much Darius Washington is sprinting like he's in a race, and they do it every practice. And I just think they've instilled something in this team where they know what hard work is. And, man, when you get a little bit of success, just a modicum of it, like they have now, it feeds your belief. Like, we're doing this for a reason. The reason we're winning is because of what we do Sunday to Friday. That's why we're winning. And I just think that you see that in practice. They do practice hard. It's not, but again, it's hard to know if their practices are crisper than other teams. We don't watch other teams. I mean, there are mistakes in practice. There are coaches yelling at guys. But overall, the one thing they do is there's no wasted movement, and they really do work hard because their coaches won't let them not work hard.
Yeah, it's just, watching the game with Dominic Robinson in the first half, I just kept saying the word incredible like 4 or 5 times, just the way they're executing on offense. Again, did not see any of this coming, which is, I guess, should make it all that much more sweeter. Especially for a lot of the fans. I know a lot of the fans are like, hey, man, I'm a fan, so I still think they're going to win every single football game. But I don't even think in your wildest dreams you thought they would look this good through 4 games as they're off to a 4-0 start here and have a huge contest with Wake Forest coming up this Saturday. Jordan Travis.
Ranked contest, Aslan.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. We buried the lead. So what, they're 22nd by the writers, 23rd from the coaches.
Reverse that.
Reverse that,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Wake is still ranked too. They didn't drop after
they
that
shouldn't.
game against Clemson.
I
I agree. They got it right. The voters got it right.
All right, so Florida State right now, according to Pro Football Focus, the number 6 overall team graded overall. The number 4 offense, 33rd on defense, and they're tied for first on special teams. The teams ranked ahead of them overall. Minnesota's number 1, which they absolutely obliterated Mel Tucker at Michigan State. Bad weekend for the COVID fraternity of coaches. Sam Pittman loses.
Yeah.
So does Mel Tucker, embarrassingly. But, hey, Lane and Mike riding high. Minnesota, Michigan, Ohio State, Bama, Georgia, and then Florida State, number 6. You asked Mike Norvell after the game just about, is Jordan Travis. Did you put a number on it, or you were just like, is he one of the better quarterbacks in the country? I don't know if you asked him if he's a top 10 guy.
I don't know if I put a number on it, but I did ask him because, I talked about it after the Louisville game where Norvell just said matter-of-factly, we lost one of the best players in the country in the second quarter, talking about his quarterback. And obviously 18 months ago, if he'd have said that about Jordan Travis, we'd all rolled our eyes or chuckled. Yeah. Nobody was chuckling in that press conference after the Louisville game, and then certainly nobody's chuckling after watching what he did to BC. Like, this kid's playing at a different level. It was good to see him move. The one worry I had, not worry, but question mark I had because we both kind of felt like the way he practiced on Wednesday, why would you have him do the work he did on Wednesday if he was not going to play? So, but I didn't think he didn't move great. So that was my biggest concern is that, I know he can see it. I know he can make plays, but can he avoid pressure? Can he make plays outside the pocket? And he could. He had the scramble in the end zone for like a 25-yard run, a 25-yard pass, and then he had the one run, the only real run he had, where he put his foot in the ground, looking like Peter Warrick, just like same old Jordan Travis. So that's good. He didn't take any. He took one hit on a throw, but I don't remember him taking many hits at all. So he should have hopefully gotten out of that game relatively healthy, and he'll be a week healthier when they play Wake. But man, these throws that he's making now, the Cam McDonald's one specifically, just those are dimes. Those are great throws. One was on a 4th down play, hitting McDonald down inside the 10 when the game was still in doubt early. It's not just like, I watched the Clemson Wake game, and obviously the Clemson kid had a very nice game. He also made about 5 or 6 throws where you're like, what was he seeing there? And some of them he was bailed out with. Like, his receivers went and made plays, and they had not been doing that.
That second touchdown was a great pass breakup, but somehow ended up
went right through his hands. Yeah. In the first one, I swear his first touchdown, I think he was throwing to another guy. And the other Clemson guy intercepted it for the touchdown. But you still wonder with him, and I'm not saying he's a bad player. He might be much better than we all thought he was going to be. But you still wonder with him sometimes, okay, what exactly is he seeing? Is he seeing everything? Jordan Travis, you're not really wondering that, man. Like, it's not just the throws he's making out wide. It's the whole picture he seems to see. The throw he hit Pokey for a 60-yard play or a 70-yard play, whatever that was, that's just him rolling to his left on a dime, reading the coverage. And there's a bust, and when you make a bust against Jordan Travis, it would appear he's going to see it every time. That's where he sees it now. That's how comfortable he seems to be in this offense. He is just seeing everything. And it has been a long time since they got quarterback play like this. A long, long time. And so with that in mind, again, we're only a third of the way through the season. But don't you just feel comfortable in every game you go to? Like, you're not comfortable you're going to beat Wake. You're not comfortable you're going to beat NC State necessarily, but you should be in the game. And you got a guy that they really got to worry about at quarterback because he's playing at an elite level. And man, that's cool. That's just cool to cover. I'm sure it's cool for you guys to cheer for and talk to your buddies about. Like, this is just awesome that this offense looks like this.
Feels kind of like a low bar there. I mean, in terms of being comfortable and you're going to be in every game. Like we've surpassed that now, Corey, right? Like this whole this will be in every single game. We're not going to get humiliated. Like they look so good. It just gets to the point now where you kind of start asking yourself, how will they lose games? I don't think they're going to give games away. They're not going to. The other team, I mean, I'm not trying to be like Captain Obvious, is going to have to make a few more plays than Florida State's going to. Like they're going to have, it's going to be that Clemson, Wake Forest kind of contest back and forth where their quarterback somehow rises up and makes a few more plays maybe than Jordan does, or a few more plays from the run game than Florida State's running backs can handle. Because Florida State's legitimate. They're a very good football team. I mean, they're ranked now. We'll see now. Again, they have a really tough stretch coming up with Wake, and then NC State and Raleigh, and then you have Clemson. But this quarterback, man, I've never been in his corner. I'm not trying to be a fan later. I'm just simply respecting how much growth he has done or has shown us and how well he's performing. We talked about it a few weeks ago when I was just kind of lamenting, like, how do you defend this offense, rather, if you're a defense? How do you defend for 60 minutes against a team that's pretty committed to the run game but has a quarterback now who is making great reads? I mean, some of these throws he's making down the seam to Cam McDonald in coverage, just putting it only where he can get it. Now, sometimes it's hitting off his hands and he's not catching it, but I digress. The deep shots he's taking, the whole fact that they still have to respect the read option when it comes to Jordan, even though he hasn't really held on to anything. But he's making the right handoffs on everything. They're doing jet motion to keep teams off balance. They're just doing so many things, running so many different sets. It's such a multiple attack. They'll lose a game somewhere, probably.
Sure.
That's just the nature of this game that we love, everybody. But they look so sound, and man, it really does come down to him. The offensive line has lost guys. They're holding up well. And the running backs are finding ways to break off some big yards, and the receivers are doing their job too, man. But I can't help but think it doesn't all stem from just how well he's seeing it, because he probably doesn't have a check plus arm, Jordan. But man, he is, to the whole fact of him seeing things. That's got to be the most important thing as a quarterback. So his decision making, what he is seeing, how he's processing things, he understands where the ball has to go. I don't know how many quarterbacks see it that well, and maybe some of them are a little bit more physically gifted than Jordan, but not many. So for sure, if you ask me right now, I think Florida State has the top 10 quarterback in the nation on their roster right now, number 13.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know that Boston College thought that. The way they defended that game was, in my opinion anyway, is we are going to make them beat us through the air because we are not going to let them run on us. I mean, you saw those defenses, man. They were run blitzing on every play, it seemed like. They had 7 or 8 guys, not just in the box, but like right near the line of scrimmage a lot of time. Yeah. Basically daring Florida State at times to try to beat them, and they can now. And I think that Florida State ended up running for 180 yards, but some of that was late, and a couple of those were big runs. I think, Trayshawn Ward probably had 8 runs of 2 yards or less. I thought Boston College did a pretty good job, all things considered, in the run defense, but good job. Then you gave up 20 yards of pass completion. So you can't take away everything, it would appear. Last year you could a little bit. Now, not everybody could do it, but if you could take away the run and make Florida State one-dimensional, you were likely the Florida State offense was likely going to struggle. Well, not anymore. You can go ahead and make Florida State one-dimensional. Give one-on-one coverage to those wide receivers. See how that works out for you. But or maybe play back, and then they'll run all over you. Like they do really seem to have an offense that's going to be very hard to defend. Now, look, we understand not this week coming up. Wake's defense isn't very good. Their offense is great. Their defense isn't very good. The 2 teams after that have very good defenses. I know Hartman threw for 6 touchdowns against Clemson, but those guys up front can play. They can change a game. But, man, when you play all these other defenses that don't have NFL dudes up front, I just feel like you got to – I don't know what you do with Florida State. You can play back and make them run the ball on you, but they can. Well, those running backs can play. And then, or you can say, we're not going to let them run. We're going to try to force them into pass. We're going to put pressure on them. We're going to be aggressive. All right. Well, good luck with man-to-man. And that to me, like when you talk about the PFF grades, again, it's 4 weeks into the season, three games into the season for some teams. We can't put all the stock into these ratings. But right now, Florida State has the highest rated receiving group in the country. And they played some real teams now. I know Duquesne wasn't. LSU's been pretty good. Mm-hmm. Louisville's not bad. Boston College is bad, but they got a decent defense. So they've gone up against some real competition, and they have the best graded receiving core in the country. Think about that from where they were a season ago. Come on, man. Like that's what kind of gets you excited about moving forward is like you talked about. Like, I wrote about just how far they've come. And like, is this really a team that now isn't just sneaking out wins but can dominate other ACC teams? And look, there aren't many ACC teams that Florida State is going to be up 31-0 on. Maybe Georgia Tech, who apparently has just fired their coach.
Yeah, not apparently gone.
Maybe, but man, they can cruise to some wins. It would look like, or they're going to have to play poorly to be in a game with some of these teams. And overall, just you think about, and this is what I wrote about after the game was, obviously last year, 4 games in, they were 0-4. And in that 4th game, they were down to a pretty average Louisville team, 31-7 in the second quarter. And it looked like, as I wrote, I was covering the worst Power 5 team in the country. Like legitimately, I thought I might, because they were coming off a loss to Wake, a bad loss to Wake, on the heels of the all-time loss to Jacksonville State. And then they're down 31-7 in the second quarter on their way to going 0-4. And you're like, you guys cheer for the worst Power 5 team in the country. I write covering the worst Power 5 team in the country. And ever since that halftime of that Louisville game, something has flipped. Norvell believes in what he's doing and what he's building. I assume all you guys do now. There's still a lot of proof left. But man, you think about how far they've come in 365 days from the worst receiving core in the ACC to now through 4 weeks, the best receiving core in the country. Now, clearly they're not the most talented, but their ranking is one of the best. Their playing is one of the best.
Shout out Ron Dugans.
Shout out Darian Williamson and Kentron Portier, man. Like Malik McClain the week before. It's not just Johnny Wilson and Micah Pittman, or Pokey. There's all these other guys that have never done squat that are starting to do squat, and they're going up and making plays, like big boy plays. I'd like to see Malik McClain come up with that one. Jordan underthrew it, but that's still a catch he can make because Portier made it, a few moments later. But when you think about how far this program has come in a year, whether they finish 8-4, 9-3, 12-0, whatever, man, then start thinking about, okay, now what's it going to look like another year from now or another year from now? Is it just is this car? Is he like, are they dropping the hammer in the race car? Like, are they about to hit 200 miles an hour? Like, is that what's happening? Are they on the straightaway? Because it's hard to believe where they were, what we felt about this program and our jobs, frankly, a year ago. And now we're covering a ranked 4-0 team that was just up 31-0 in a conference game, juxtaposed to where it was a year ago. It's just been a remarkable turnaround, man. What are they? And I've said it. They're 9-3 in their last 12 games. 9-3. Almost all of them conference games. And now they got their big blowout. They hadn't had a ton of blowouts in that nine wins. This was a big one. I thought it was a kind of a statement game in a weird way. Now, of course, it won't mean nothing if they lose to Wake. I get it. But, man, that was such a good sign for them to come out and dominate a team that, quite frankly, I didn't think they could do that. I thought they'd win. I thought they might even win comfortably. I didn't think they would embarrass Boston College. I didn't know that was in this program to do something like that. Well, it was, and they did it without their 2 best defensive players. That's pretty cool.
You know football, and you pick winners all the time. Why not get paid, everybody? All you got to do is go over to MyBookie. Bet single-game spreads, money lines, or parlay multiple together to increase your payout. Low contest entry fees and over $500,000 to be won. Make it so you don't have to be a pro gambler to have fun. Getting started, easy. Just go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code WARCHANT, on your first deposit to secure a double deposit bonus, or deposit as some people say, Corey.
Right, I like your pronunciation.
That's promo code WARCHANT to get your first deposit matched. Dollar for dollar, all the way up to $1,000. MyBookie's a proven sports book that makes it simple to bet and win. It's winning season exclusively at MyBookie. Right now, Florida State over at MyBookie, 6.5-point favorite over Wake Forest.
Wow, really?
Get some. I'm sorry, 6 even. I apologize. They're a 6-point favorite. The over-under 66.5. I like that number. I like both numbers. Hit the over. Take the Noles. Get the 6 points away. We'll give some other picks out later in the week, courtesy of Corey. MyBookie.ag. Use that promo code WARCHANT. I think I mentioned this on a show last week, Corey. I was thinking one of my inarticulate thoughts. Like in my head, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a great one, but it doesn't come out right. Like I think now Florida State, I know you mentioned there, they dominated a Boston College team. It won't matter if they can't beat Wake Forest, which I don't know. I think you're being a little bit tongue-in-cheek about that too. These 4 games these are real games. These are real wins. These are impressive wins. These are trends. These are not flukes.
Yeah.
Despite the crazy nature of the victories, they were the better team against LSU. They were the better team for large stretch of the Louisville game, etc. Like to beat Florida State now, like it's the same sort of recipe like works in the NFL. Like you have to be able to get home with only 4 dudes. Like if you can get home with 4 dudes and cover your rear end off on the back end, you're probably going to be able to slow this team down. Problem is, for the opposition here, Florida State's offensive line has actually held up fairly well despite the fact that they're down, 3 dudes that they usually probably were going to have in their rotation here now. We don't know how long Robert Scott's going to be out, but he was not out there on Saturday night. And then you have to hem up this quarterback, and you have to get your hand on him, which is half of the battle, but then you actually have to bring him down, which is a whole nother sort of struggle. Not to mention the fact that he's seeing things so well right now. These receivers are playing so hard. I'm kind of at this point now to where, I don't know how many points they're going to score in a game, but I just believe that, when it comes down to possessions, they're going to find ways to continue to move the ball down the field on teams until they hit, I don't know, man, the playoff against Alabama or Georgia. Or, I don't know if NC State is – I know this is a really weird program playing NC State. For whatever reason, we never do well up there, whoever the coach is, however good this football team is. So maybe I should wait until we actually go up there and face them. But this offense is functioning at such a high level right now. It comes down can you get home with 4 dudes? You probably can't. And even if you can, you got to get that quarterback down, which is so hard to do. And then when he's out of the pocket and it's a 7-second play, these receivers now are good enough to figure out ways to get open. And they're also running the ball fairly well right now. How crazy is it that not only is that this quarterback is playing at such a high level, Corey, and you mentioned this receiving core being number 1 right now in PFF, but, man, it's so many different guys. Johnny did nothing Saturday. I was a little bit bummed out about that. I want to see Johnny go to the moon. I thought we were just going to throw the ball at Johnny every 2 reps or whatever out there to make things happen. But Darion comes up big. Kentron, I don't know if that was maybe his 3rd or 4th rep of the game, and they dial his number up and he goes deep and catches a huge pass. Just the fact they have so many different weapons too, is that maybe even one of the bigger surprises that, I know you like Jordan, Ira liked Jordan, you liked Johnny Wilson, we all liked Micah, but the fact that we're seeing 21, 88 making some plays, Pokey's finally kind of starting to emerge. How much of a pleasant surprise is that, and how much is that contributing to the overall effectiveness of this offense, that there's just so many weapons?
Yeah, and there are, man. I was really bummed out that Williamson got hurt, and you guys will know the extent of his injury on Saturday. No idea. Didn't look great when he came off the field after that great play he made, but man, that you saw that big body that can move, and you're like, man, he's an afterthought. You don't even think about Darian Williamson on this team. And then he had 5 catches for 98 yards in the blink of an eye. A couple of really nice moves in the open field, too, for a guy that's that big. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's why Norvell's so excited about him. That's not coach speak. He really is. And there were some moments. Now, he missed some of preseason camp, I think. But there were moments when he was healthy and in camp where you're like, he flashed. It's like, man, 21 can make some plays. But he was an afterthought. But that's a good point about Johnny Wilson, is because you thought, okay, if this offense is going to do anything through the air, Johnny Wilson has to be a big part of it. Well, no. What do you have, 2 catches for 12 yards?
Yeah.
And Jordan had his first ever 300-yard game without using him, really. Now, the one catch he did make, it's 3rd and 2. The corner's playing 12 yards off him. So that's a pretty easy, here's just a first down. That's a really fun matchup to have, is 3rd and 2. The corner is so scared of your 6'7" guy that he will literally give you a first down. And they took it. So let's not lose sight of that. But all third down conversions are important. But I also I want to ask Norvell today when we talked to him, how much of Johnny not getting the ball was because they were shading towards Johnny? And not coincidentally, how much did that open up things for everybody else? Because when Johnny Wilson's out on the field, it impacts the game whether he's making plays or not. That impacts the defense. And did Boston College do what they thought they were going to do when it came to defending Johnny? Because now that he put the Louisville game on tape, Johnny's not everybody knows about 14. Everybody knows about 14, and he is going to get a ton of coverage and a ton of attention. So did Boston College defend like the Florida State staff thought they would? Was it just a matter of other guys being more open? Or was it the safety over the top? The corner had some help. I'm very interested in that because that's going to be that's going to be a storyline all season. Is Johnny Wilson getting the ball to Johnny Wilson, or them taking the ball away from Johnny Wilson? But to the other transfer, I thought Micah had his best game. He was trucking folks, and I thought he looked good in the punt return game. That is the guy that again is a difference maker. He took a quick screen pass and just hit it hard for like a 16-yard gain and just trucked 2 guys. And he's 5'8", man. He ain't 5'9". He's not a big kid, but he's powerful. He's powerfully built. 5'10"
or 5'11". Give him his...
You and Ira always correct me on that. I think he's 5'9". I don't know why. He's not 6'5", gang. So he looks out of place in this Florida State receiving crew now.
Fair.
He's closer to my size
5'11".
than your
he's less
size.
Than 5'11", Micah.
All right, so there we go. How about 5'10"? We'll say 5'10" and a half. But man, you see what kind of difference maker he can be. Yeah. And then look, I was wondering what those 3 runs would do for Trey Benson, the ones he had in the fourth quarter against Louisville. Well, apparently unlocked the cheat code because he ran like a different dude. And you see what happens when because you see how fast he is clearly, but when he's running full speed at that size, it's a hard dude to bring down, right? Yeah. It's a really hard dude to bring down. Boston College couldn't do it.
Who did you ask about? Was it Kalen you asked about bringing that guy down? And he thought you were talking about Jurkovic, and you're like, no, I'm talking about the guy next to you. Like, how hard is the tackle?
Oh, yeah,
Trey
about
Benson?
tackling Trey Benson in practice. And I'm not afraid of doing that, Aslan. You'll see this sometimes at press conference, especially with young reporters. They'll ask a question, and the person that they ask the question to misunderstands it and starts answering something else. And it was a perfectly fine answer, but Deloach thought I was talking about bringing down the Boston College's quarterback. And really, I was just asking about the guy because the guy next to him. I was like, how hard is it to bring down the guy next to you? And he misheard me. So I was like, no. When he was done with his answer, I was nodding along. I'm like, yeah, no, I didn't mean their quarterback. I meant, what is it like to tackle Trey Benson? You've had to do it in practice some. Because, yeah, some guys will be like, they'll be embarrassed and won't repeat the question and get the right answer. Not this guy. I don't have any shame, Aslan. I'll ask a question over and over again until I get the answer I want. But, yeah, so you saw what Trey Benson is. And I don't think Toafili has been untapped yet. There's still some stuff in there that makes him a really special player, and he is a tough guy. He's a tough mismatch for teams. So yeah, man, when you think about what this team was last year and the dearth of weapons, and now you don't want to put too much stock into a Boston College win, but you can put stock into the Louisville win and the LSU win. It seems like they do have a lot more weapons than they've had in a good long while, and they're coached well. They're schemed up well, and those guys get a lot of one-on-one opportunities, and they're taking advantage of it. Plus, you're right, man. The quarterback's the difference. And you were talking about when you think you have a chance. Like, I don't want to say you go into a game like, oh, this will be close. That wasn't the point I was trying to make when you're talking about Jordan Travis. Like, oh, we're going to be in this game, because you're right. The bar has been raised to not just want to be in the game. I think you go into every game thinking, well, you know what? We still got Jordan Travis. And it reminds me, I brought this up before, but after the 93 Florida game, when Bowden was asked after, that was the famous Ward to Dunn 78-yard touchdown that got him in the national championship game. when Bobby Bowden was asked after the game, like, what did you think about this matchup beforehand? Did you think it was going to play out like this? He's like, all week, I would keep myself up at night saying, well, they're as good as we are here. They're as good as we are here. Are we better than them there? I think they're better than us here. And he goes, but I would then rest peacefully because I would say to myself, we got Charlie. And I don't know that you go into this match thinking, okay, we've got the better quarterback, because Sam Hartman is really good, folks, and they run that goofy ass offense. Sorry, you could bleep that out. That is that slow mesh thing is just nutty, man.
Incredible.
It's just, what are you supposed to do? It doesn't even seem fair.
How does it work? How do they just get murdered every time? Just hit them hard.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either. I think they do a lot of holding. I think they do a lot of holding in the interior, and because they're Wake Forest, they don't call it. But you are going to go into a lot of these games coming up saying, well, we got Jordan. Yeah, that's what the level he's playing at right now. That guy, they didn't punt. I don't think he was in a position. I don't think they punted when he was in the game.
No,
now,
they didn't kick
there were a
field
few
goals
fourth downs.
Yeah,
that's true. When you go for it on fourth downs a lot, but that was just that was a really good performance. Probably could have thrown for 400 if a couple of plays had gone a different way. But I just couldn't be more impressed with how good that kid is. And I always thought he was pretty good. But I can be the first to admit, as much as I was a Jordan Travis defender, some would call me an apologist. But as much as I had his back the last 2 years, I can admit I didn't think his ceiling was this high. I just didn't. I mean, he's playing like a guy that could play on Sundays, man. Like, he really is. I'm not saying he will, but he's a guy that could get a look, just the way he sees everything and as quick as he seems to process things. It just seems like the game has really slowed down for him, and he beats you so much more with his arm and his mind than he ever has. The legs are almost an afterthought, man. He uses them when he has to, and that's just such a far cry from what he was thinking about to start the Notre Dame game last year. He's like a different quarterback. So good job, Norvell and Tony Tokars. Take a bow.
Yeah, I think Jordan's tweet after the game, great team win. The atmosphere was amazing. Appreciate the fans more than y'all know. God bless Go Noles. Hashtag I am a QB.
So was it really?
Yeah. So I think that's what he's showing everybody. Like, this whole running thing, it's for the birds. I'm just going to sit back here and pick everybody apart. But throw for 300 yards finally. Get off my back.
Yeah. Tell him, Jordan. Tell him what's up. By the way, how about that crowd, dude? Like, that's crazy.
Strong.
I mean,
well, I don't know. I wasn't there for the first half. I was at the.
Well, that's true. You were seeing a lot of people exit on a third. Thanks a lot, Boston College. Yeah. But like to have, I know people say it was the first sellout since 2015. Man, I went to games from the 80s all the way through. When there were, I don't know that there were a ton of sellouts no matter when Boston College rolled through. It's Boston College. Like, that never excited the fan base, even when the fan base was awesome. I mean, even when the team was awesome. So for a 3-0 team that has been mediocre for 5 years and is playing a mediocre football team that brought 100 of its own fans, to sell it out, and like, it wasn't just a sellout in name or tickets sold, it was a sellout. There were not huge pockets of empty seats, man. It was filled to the brim, and it was loud. It sounded like a Notre Dame game. And it was Boston College, man. I just think that tells you what this fan base thinks of this coach and this team right now, because that was a great showing. A great showing.
The clutch shot, the biggest hits. It's time for the Zaxby's Indescribably Good
Player of the Week.
You heard the man. Time for the Zaxby's Indescribably Good Player of the Week. It was kind of like, I got to pick one of these guys that I've undervalued the entire time they've been here at Florida State. So I'll pick Trey Benson. I'll pick Ira's Trey Benson. Ira had all those chips on him in the middle of the table long, long ago. But Trey Benson showing, I guess, just what made him pretty special in high school and what Oregon saw in him. Finally maybe showing the form that he's long been trying to gain back after that pretty bad knee injury he had up there in Oregon. 10 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and then obviously that incredible, electric, set the entire tone for the evening kickoff return on the very first play of the game, 93 yards for the opening score, which Corey quickly knew as being the first player to start a game off the opening kickoff return for touchdown since
Tamarick Vanover, 1992 against Miami.
Corey knows these things straight off the dome. Trey Benson, my Zaxby's indescribably good player of the week, just setting the tone on the kickoff special teams and just running hard, out physicaling a Boston College team. Who'd have thunk it, Corey?
Yeah, and normally I think I was going to go with Jordan Travis because he deserves it. But I'm pivoting, Aslan,
Corey,
in the moment.
We talked about this.
I know. I'm pivoting in the moment because you brought it up, and I'm going to go with John Papuchis.
Ooh.
I mean, when you think you said it earlier, right, Aslan? Were they number 1 or number 2 in the country in special teams?
Number one, tied.
Come
for
on,
first.
man. Yeah. There was nobody that drew the ire of Florida State fans more last year on the coaching staff, anyway, even more than Fuller, than John Papuchis. And my man gets his first kick return for a touchdown. The punt return game looked good, especially when Mike is calling for fake fair catches. But otherwise, I thought the punt return game looked good. The kickoff, I mean, Fitzgerald was nailing balls through the end zone. We don't have to talk about the extra points, but
PATs? Okay. Right.
Don't have to, don't need to, unless Shaheem Brown's blocking them. But through 4 games, the special teams have been a strength. Even when you don't have a great kicker, they have been a strength. And man, kudos to that guy because we watch it, Aslan. 45 minutes every day, that dude's voice is bellowing all over the practice field. And I can't imagine how rewarding it was for him. We'll find out later today to watch Benson bust through there and to make the switch to put Benson back there instead of Sam McCall. That's a great decision by him and Norvell, and I just want to give Papuchis his flowers. He deserves it. He's the coach of one of the best special teams units in the country, and they had their first return for a touchdown since he's been here. So he's my indescribably good performer of the week.
All right, there we go. Players, performers. It's all good when it's Zaxby's. It's indescribably good. John Papuchis, Trey Benson, Zaxby's, indescribably good performers. Players of the week, which you did that one time when you signed off, Corey. It was great. I loved it. You should do that more often.
I will next time.
Again, I really hate to kind of gloss over it, I guess, but we're Florida State. We've been there, but it's been a few years. But again, Florida State, 22nd in the coaches poll, 23rd in the AP. First time they've been ranked since the opener 2018 against Virginia Tech. So cool to be back.
That doesn't even count. I wonder when the last in season. When was the last time they were ranked in season? When was the last time they were ranked in October?
Well,
probably
like 16.
Probably 16, right? Yeah. It's been 6 years since a real ranking. Like they were ranked very high in 17 to start the year. Then the quarterback got hurt and they lost their first 2 or 3 games or whatever it was, and then they were ranked at the start of 18, but they didn't earn that. Clearly, they weren't one of the best teams in the country that year. They've earned this. And I'll be honest with you, if their name was LSU, what do you think LSU would be ranked right now, Aslan, if they had gone for 2 and beaten Florida State?
Yeah, well, cause they were 2 years removed from a national championship. But I know what you're saying. They'd probably they'd be in the teens.
Yeah. You look, Florida State has played well enough that I think they, if they hadn't had such a bad last 4 or 5 years, they'd be top 12 or 15-ish. Yeah. It doesn't matter, though. If you keep winning, that's what matters. If you beat Wake Forest, you will vault up even more because Wake Forest gained a lot of respect this weekend with that game. I wish their coach wouldn't have coached like a coward there in the final minute. But that's fine. He's a very, very, very good coach.
He is. I like that guy. I
do too.
I hope something good happens from him. Not against us, but I hope maybe he gets, I don't know, would Georgia Tech be a promotion for him? He should go somewhere big and where he's appreciated. Like Clemson overran that state. Yeah, maybe. To try to get Jim Grobe, right? Maybe Wake Forest can finally pay the favor off. But I mean, like that stadium got overran by Clemson fans. That's screwed up, man. Help that guy out, man.
Yeah, why not call timeouts there at the end, Aslan? I thought he ran the ball too much on that last drive when it was tied before overtime. He punted. She didn't have to punt. Gave the ball back to Clemson, and then with 3 timeouts and then with their own 10, he didn't call any timeouts. He let them run 1 play into the line, and that was it. I don't know. I just thought, why are you playing for overtime, man? All you do is throw fades to your wide receivers, and they have shown you repeatedly they can't cover them. So why then are you being this conservative late in the game? I thought he kind of he kind of shrunk in the moment a little bit, and I think he is an awesome coach. He's a very, very good coach. What he's doing at Wake Forest is nuts. But I was rooting for Wake. There's a very good chance that if Wake had won that game day would be in Tallahassee this weekend. If there is a game. And that was a bummer. I really was rooting for Wake. I felt bad for them. I felt bad for Sam Hartman. I will not feel bad for any of them this Saturday coming up, but I did feel bad for him in that game because, of course, Clemson won that. Of course, Dabo still keeps winning.
Wake 21st in the coaches poll, 22nd in the AP poll. 6 ACC schools now ranked. Clemson 5th, NC State 10th,
All
Wake
right.
21st, Florida State 22nd, Pitt 24th, and Syracuse. So that they ended up winning on Friday night, huh? They held on.
Yeah, they did held on. It was down to the wire, man. How about that? So Florida State's about to play 3 straight ranked teams. It's a tough stretch, gang. It's a tough stretch. Like you do get you get lucky in the sense that 2 of them are coming off playing Clemson. Like you're going to play NC State the week after they just played Clemson, and you're playing Wake the week after they played Clemson and played double overtime. So they should be a little bit exhausted, a little bit heartbroken. That could work into your favor a little bit.
You would think, but on the watch along, Dominic Robinson was saying he thinks that wasn't good for Florida State. He thinks coming off the loss, Wake is going to be more dialed in and hungry. Which, I mean, he would know better. I haven't been in that kind of locker room, but I would just think that was not a gut punch, but they left it all out there, man. They left it all out there. And
they haven't beaten that team, and they've never beaten Dabo, man. Yeah. They haven't beaten that team since 2008. And they had it. It was right there. They had a chance. They had the game won, and they kind of blew it. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It shouldn't. They're young kids. It shouldn't carry over. But I've seen a lot of, I've seen some Florida State games where it felt like they lost to a team twice because there was just a hangover. There was a carryover from a devastating loss. I'll always remember the Ricks, the 2002 wide left. Was it wide left? The Bethia?
Yeah, Miami. Yeah.
Where they outplayed Miami that whole game, lost at the end.
Yep.
The little jester danced around Bethia after the Miami kid danced around him. Yep. I can't believe he didn't get punched in the face. And then the next week they come and just lay an egg against Notre Dame. A Notre Dame team they were more talented than. And it just seemed like they were still hungover from the last week. So it can happen, but yeah, man, who knows? It's hard to know. And look, if they get up 14-0, start feeling good about themselves, they won't be heartbroken anymore. They'll be in the middle of a game. But yeah, so either way, it's a really tough stretch. And I think if you're a Florida State fan, man, you start dreaming about, man, can they win all 3 of these? Well, let's slow it down. Get to 5-0.
They can. Will they?
Certainly they can. Yeah. Absolutely they can. If they get through this stretch 2-1.
Yes. Still a win. Still a big win. Still a big win.
You will be above the flipping moon, man. Because think about it. They would be 6-1 with wins over 2 ranked teams. They would be, 15th in the country. They'll have either beaten NC State on the road or Clemson at home, or maybe lose to Wake and win the next 2, whatever it is. That they will have 3 or 4 really good wins under their belt, and they'll be 6-1. So
with a bye week, yeah,
with a bye week coming. So, but either way, getting to 5-0 with going into that NC State game, man, you start to get a little juiced up, man. You start to get a little excited, like
you start jumping around.
Yeah, like I did at the end of the video, the Warchant rap, because it's like you feel it, man. Like I really, really hope the hurricane. Well, I was going to say I hope it shifts left. Well, I'm not rooting it for anybody. I don't want anybody to get hit by this thing. But I hope it goes away because I can't wait to see what it feels like this week. Because it really is starting to remind me, and I know this isn't close to the team, and they won't be playing for nearly highly the stakes, but like the 13 and 14 years, 12 to an extent too, where you felt it in the community. You felt it on campus. You feel a different kind of energy when your college football team is good and you're in a smallish town. And I think that's what Florida State, that's what you felt a little bit this past week, but it was Boston College. Well, now you got a ranked team.
It was Parents' Weekend. It brought the juice, Mom and Dad.
Absolutely. Try to go to brunch on Sunday on Parents' Weekend, gang. Holy moly. That was great. But yeah, this week, if we can avert this weather and we know the game is going to be played, I just can't wait for the hype to keep slowly building. And then you start to think and look ahead, okay, this feels awesome. What's it going to feel like in 2 weeks when that orange team rolls into town? Come on, man. And you actually have a team you think can win and expect to win. Yeah. It's exciting. It's exciting stuff, man. Aslan, we made it.
We did.
Well, it's 4-0. Let's get bowl eligible before we start talking about we made it. But, man, what a great start. You couldn't have – there's no way if you'd asked either one of us on August 20th, do you think this team will be 4-0?
No way. Yeah, no,
we wouldn't have.
No.
Nope. Wouldn't have said it. So this has been just awesome.
And
It's been awesome. It's been awesome.
And the way they've won these games, there could be slippage, but there's not going to be a drop off. Like the way that they were getting pressed by LSU, but figuring out a way to make the final play. The way they were pressed and thrown into like a really horrible situation against Louisville, but still ending up making plays. Like that's like a micro sort of level thing, obviously in a game situation, but over the course of a season, like if these situations happen again, I know they can't take that many more injuries, but like they're not going to quit, man. They're not going to quit in games. They are supremely talented right now at the quarterback position, and they're just operating at a really high level, man. So it's hard not to put your mind ahead and start thinking about Phoenix.
Sure. But there's nothing lucky about it.
No.
In fact, they've been unlucky. Like when you think about them having to play one of the biggest games of the year, the ACC opener, with their starting quarterback injured and their best two defensive linemen not playing in the second half, one didn't make the trip. That's unlucky, really unlucky. And your kicker can't make kicks. That's unlucky.
Your kicker not making kicks, that's kind of on you.
But I'm saying, like, you don't go into a season thinking, man, we can't even go for we can't kick 46-yard field goals. We have to go for every fourth down, which apparently, and we'll talk about that more throughout the week because that'll be something that apparently is going to be something we have to
press them on a little bit.
Well, not press them on. I mean, just that's it's the new reality of this team. They're going to go for a lot of fourth downs when they're in that no man's land. Because they don't trust their kicker outside of 30.
Land. It's no man's land for this team right now.
It's their no man's land, no kicker land, which is what they feel right now. I mean, the kid kicked a 30-yarder and then missed an extra point, and it wasn't like he drilled that field goal. It got through there,
and his first extra point was gross.
Yeah,
it barely snuck in.
And he had a couple that barely snuck in. So he's struggling mightily right now. But that's, you don't go to a season thinking you're going to be lucky to make extra points. Like, so I would have thought if they were 4-0, they would have been completely healthy and they would have gotten a lot of luck. Turnover luck, injury luck. Well, they haven't really had either. One of their turnovers against Louisville hit a tight end in the hand. So they've kind of been a little bit unlucky in their 4-0. So that's just, again, that's really, really encouraging because there's nothing fluky about the way they've played these first 4 games. They are a good football team. They got to make it last in the next eight weeks, but through 4 weeks, they are a very good college football team. They are a good college football team.
They're a very good college football team.
All right. Correct me. I don't care.
About 8 minutes ago, Corey said something about you don't want to lose twice. You don't want to let a team, knock you off twice. Now, Florida State doesn't have that problem right now because they're undefeated.
Correct. Right.
University of Florida and University of Miami have found ways to lose 2 games now apiece.
Yes. Yeah. And really, Florida should be 0-4.
They should. They're not.
But they're not. They're 2-2. The record's a record.
So Rocky Top prevails, but they don't cover the spread. I mean, that onside kick made my heart sink.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my gosh.
That's exactly how Florida's going to – yeah. I mean, I was like, okay, he's going to throw a Hail Mary and they're going to win the game. Because that's what Tennessee does.
Yeah, Miami and Florida's projected first-round picks at quarterback.
Man.
Richardson played okay. I don't think you could really blame him for the loss.
He threw for 400 yards.
Did he throw for 400?
Yeah.
Golly.
Yep.
Tyler Van Dyke got the hook. He
Yes.
got pulled. This on the heels of him criticizing his own fan base. Some might say criticizing, some might say just speaking the truth simply in a free country. But lost his job in the middle of a game where they lost to stand-up Rick Stockstill, Florida State alum, and the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders, who did not have Bailey Hockman at quarterback. I don't think Bailey's in the game any longer. But Miami goes down, Florida goes down. Jimbo was a upright post doink. They call it the oink because the Razorbacks pig.
Oh, there you go. That's funny.
Very funny. So it wasn't the triple crown of Schadenfreude or whatever that word is. But pretty cool, man. I think we're probably, I don't know, like the third best team in the state behind the Jags and the Dolphins right now. So
how about the Jags?
Feels good.
And the Dolphins, by the way. I was actually at CP on Sunday at Corner Pocket, and there are plenty of Dolphins fans there, and I just feel really good for them.
Yeah.
It's been so long. But
I like their coach, too. I like Mike McDaniel.
I do, too. Yeah.
Cool.
But when you look at that Hurricanes team, and I mean, look, man.
And I like that defensive coordinator hire. You didn't like it. I'm like, oh, Kevin Sill's good. He got 40 points hung on him by Middle Tennessee State at home.
That kid threw for 400 yards on 15 completions. That's crazy. He was like 15 of 26 for 400 yards. They gave up a 98-yard touchdown pass.
After they got stuffed on like 4th and goal,
yes.
they turned right around. And
Stockstill was right. Rick Stockstill, he's the coach at Middle Tennessee State. He was the quarterback at Florida State in the early 80s. I think 81.
He's been there forever.
Yeah, he has.
Man.
Yeah, he was the coach. He was the quarterback for the 81 team. But obviously he's an alum of Florida State, and he even said, like, I know the people in Tallahassee love me today because, and he's like, this wasn't a fluke. Like, we kicked their butts, and I'm not afraid to say we kicked their butts, and he was right. And yeah, man, that's an issue for the Canes moving forward, man, because you thought that, okay, well, they lost some guys, but they have a really good quarterback. They're bringing in some talent. They're going to be a problem this year. They still might be. We'll see if they turn it around. But, man, their offense is gross right now. Van Dyke doesn't know where he's throwing to, and if he throws it to the right person, so half the time they drop it. Like, they are really struggling on offense, and he was being booed every other pass by the 8,000 people that were there, which, again, it's kind of – I wonder what Taylor Van Dyke's saying in his head. Taylor, whatever, man. Van Spike is what we call him, right?
Touche.
Because he says what he says, which was basically like he likes going on the road because they're real college atmospheres. Isn't that what he said?
Something like that. I'll try to pull up the quote here and get it.
Something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing, but he's like he enjoys playing on the road because it feels like a real college atmosphere. The unspoken part is it doesn't where I play, which is true. And if you go watch, because boy, I did when I got home Saturday night, I wanted to see every single highlight of the Miami Middle Tennessee State game. Go look at that crowd, dude. Go. I don't know why I keep calling you dude. I'm not 21 anymore. Get it together, Clark. It's crazy. It's too I'm too comfortable with you.
Here we go. But you told Carson Palmer, I like away games better. We don't really have much of a college atmosphere because we play at Hard Rock.
Okay. Well, I think it's because you play at Hard Rock in front of 9 people. Yeah. I think that's the not college atmosphere. But go look at that crowd. And I just think the irony of those people that are there, and God bless them for showing up. It's Middle Tennessee. But they're booing him for saying what exactly is the truth. They don't have a college atmosphere except for one game every 2 years. So it's just the irony of them booing as they sit around 60,000 empty blue seats, booing a kid for saying he likes playing on the road because it's a real college atmosphere, which he's absolutely right. But I loved it. I loved the fact that they were booing him. He played horribly. They played horribly. And we haven't even talked about Norvell landing Hakeem Williams.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Again,
5-star consensus wide receiver out of Stranahan High School. Beats out A&M, beats out Miami, Pitt, Bama. Gets some.
Like a consensus top 20, 25 player in the country, a consensus like top 2 or 3 wide receiver in the country. Man, that is a great sign moving forward. Number one, you kept a kid in state, but you got a wide receiver, a big-time wide receiver. It's been a minute since you signed one of them. That's on top of being 4-0, on top of what you've done in the portal. If you start now, I think they're 15th, at least on threes rankings. I think they're 15th in the team recruiting rankings. If you can hover around there, stay anywhere from 10 to 15, and you're building upon what you're doing the next year. All of a sudden, now things can change really quickly. You love the direction of this program, all in all facets, recruiting, portal. The player development, the crowd, the energy within the fan base, it's all
coaching staff. You liked all their pieces. I mean, your special teams, defensive ends coach is figuring things out. The receivers coach is figuring things out. Yeah, man, good times.
Yeah, it is good times. It's fine, and we deserve it, don't we, Aslan?
Yeah.
Because we've had to talk about a lot of bad football since you and I have done this. It's been nothing but bad football. It's been nothing but near losses, blowout losses, and UTEP bowl games, like just El Paso. That's all we've had. El Paso.
I love you, El Paso. I do not speak of you in any sort of.
But is that our highlight? That's our highlight since we've been doing the show. Is the El Paso?
Do you
bowl.
not like Mexican food? I ate like a king, sir. I ate like a king for 5 nights. It was amazing. I love it.
I'm sure the people of El Paso are great. It sounds like they put on a great bowl. It really does matter to them. Yeah. But I'm just saying, when you start covering Florida State as a program, you don't think the ceiling is El Paso.
I like Phoenix.
You're exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. You said that earlier. You would love to live in Phoenix.
It spurred off a real good conversation on Warchant, by the way. Somebody really, rallied the horses and the carts around the Leon County, and it was crazy. Talking about like living in Tallahassee and being close to the water. I'm like, like 2 hours away from like a good.
It's
beach.
good to have it as an option, though.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
can just on a whim say I'm going to the beach.
Yeah,
you can. No, it's not a you can't take your bike. You can't ride your bike there.
Yeah.
But you can on a whim saying, you know what? You know what I'm going to do tomorrow? You know what I'm going to do later today? I'm just going to go to the beach.
I would like to also be like, I just want to get on a plane and go to New York City nonstop. I want to go to Top Golf.
Look, man.
We can't have it all. We got a really good football
we're not going to take
right
this
now.
Tallahassee slander.
Yeah, all right,
we're not going to take this Tallahassee slander.
All right, we got shows coming up the entire week, but this week, as it does tick down, we're going to be hitting the end of the month, which means the $1 special will be over. So we come to you. I think Austin Green, I don't know if you're still listening to the show now, I have a screenshot. You said if they would go 4-0, you would subscribe. So I need you to save face. I need you to provide receipts that you have signed up, or I will shame you and your lineage for not spending $1 to get hooked up for an entire year of access to warchant.com. All the recruiting stuff that Corey's talking about, Hakeem Williams ratings, who's coming in for visits, all that's available.
Maybe
over
a quarterback. Maybe a quarterback's going to come in and sign on now.
Now you got some receivers, right, Corey? Now you got some. Come here. We got some weapons for you. We got you covered. So check that out. Iris 321, Corey's post game columns, which are always a freaking riot and really good and illuminating into just how great things are right now for Florida State. Gene Williams pulling out the PFF, diving into all the stats and making it pretty digestible for all of you. Tom Lang, his observations, Third and Lang, Jeff Cameron breaking things down, Austin Cox helping out. There's a army of people providing content for you for the next 365 days if you sign up right now for only $1. Okay?
And you better do it. You've got 5 days to do it, right, Aslan?
Yeah.
4 days.
4 days. Yeah.
So you got 4 days left. You've waited long enough. Don't procrastinate any longer. Let's go, man. Quit being our woman. I know we got women listening to the show. A lot of you.
Lady.
If you're not signed up to Warchant, do it. It's not a boys' club over there. There's plenty of women in there that mix it up. Get in there too.
We'll speak to Coach Norvell and the coordinators at 11:30 a.m., so be on the lookout for all that over on our YouTube page. We'll have shows the rest of the week. Jeff Cameron's show coming up 1 to 3 o'clock. And again, a reminder, if you are an Apple device and you download this show on a mobile device using the podcast app, search Wake Up Warchant. You'll see 2 results. Hit the one on the right. That's the one that's got the more ratings and reviews. Make sure you download and subscribe to that one, please. It pulls all the numbers. Let's get all the numbers on that show. That way we can kind of pump our chests about how cool this show is, because I think it's pretty cool. So is Corey Clark. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.